With the arrival of set 8 with a new ban list and a whole month of virtually do nothing because so far we've not actually gotten any products in January, and because it's 2023, Happy New Year, I decided, well, let's do a deck experiment. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Mr. here. Today I am back for a much more different deck profile. I don't really intend to do these very often, but I thought because I just wanted to really do this. I thought it was really fun. D has been around for 2 years now, and it's soon approaching 3 years of D. Can you imagine? But today I was thinking, let's actually ask ourselves an interesting question. The question is, can a DBT01 deck actually survive in a 2023 environment? This is in the context of many of the ban lists, many of the sets coming out, many decks being swapped, power crap changed, completely irrelevant. And an example of this would be something like Valiante, because anyone who knows, overdress has progressed so far as a mechanic. You had Maha at the end of 2021, then you got excluded in 2022. Virtually speaking, there is no more room to play a pure set 1 style Vairina. So I challenged it and I bought the entire core from UUT, and I also decided to buy a few upgrades from some of the other sets that do involve overdress upgrades. But the main point of it is going to be very simple. It has to focus around Nirvana, the grade 3, and it has to focus around Valiante, this grade 3. So that's basically all this deck aims to do, and what you can do if you have an archaic Vairina core. What if you were one of the many people who bought out set 1 to play this brand new deck, and now you realize you don't really have anything to do with it? Of course, there are many ways to actually play this deck, and I'm going to cover that slowly but surely. The right deck consists of Trickstar, Reno, Ryu, and Nirvana. I'm very sure that I've covered DBT04 Nirvana on this deck before, so I'm frankly not really gonna cover too much about it. I will actually link the old set 4 video into the deck before into the description, so you don't have to worry about that. But I'm still gonna talk about this deck in full because I feel it's quite interesting to actually talk about it in terms of a deck experiment. Moving forward, we are playing the Trickstar starter. I think it's been 2 years now. It's pretty much established that you want to have as many Trickstars as possible. We've lived through Jet, we've lived through Youthbird, we've lived through Soji Doji, Eva, Japan Fight, you name it, we've gone through it. I think it's pretty much established that from set 1 onwards, people who already started playing Trickstarter have stuck to it because of its reliability. Even though you lose out going second, it's really no issue. We know when she attacks, she gains an additional 2000 power from Vanguard and Rearguard Circle. Nice, the magic numbers of Dragon Empire that we know and love. The skill is, of course, when she's rode upon, you actually can search your deck for a Trickstar and call it. So you can just search for Trickstar. That's basically how it works. I'm not really going to explain overdress mechanic in general. I think you already know it's the stacking of a Vairina unit on top of a Trickstar or a specified unit. So yeah, it's been already 3 years. Come on. Ryu, her skill is when she's rode upon by Nirvana, you specifically can Soul Blast 1 and search your deck for a base copy of base Vairina and add it to the hand. And then, of course, when she attacks, she gains 2000 power. Nirvana, when Nirvana attacks, you Counter Blast 1 itself and all units with the overdress ability, gain an additional 10,000 power. So even if you have a stray Vairina that's not being overdressed, it can become a 20k beater. And of course, the second skill is discard a card from your hand. You can superior call a grade 0 from your drop zone, which is going to be Trickstar, so you can overdress again. It's the same right there from set 1, set 2, set 3, set 4, set 5, and then if you're still playing overdress now, set 8. So frankly, nothing has changed. So let's actually break it down more by moving into the grade 3s. The grade 3s, we play 3 copies of Nirvana in the right deck, 1 copy of Nirvana. 3 copies of Nirvana in the main deck, 1 copy of Nirvana in the right deck, and then of course 4 copies of Vairina Valiante. So we've covered Nirvana. We do want to actually play some, grade 3s for Persona Right. Persona Right is still a valuable mechanic. How many years down the road, I still believe it's very valuable, especially given that this is a rearguard beating set trick deck. You do actually want to pull off those Persona Right, especially since you're not playing a Maha based deck in overdress. So that's pretty much done and settled. And then of course you have Vairina Valiante, the set 1 poster boy who has really taken a dive in terms of what it does. Because yeah, we started this deck so excited for Valiante, then came Elga and the Bluish Flames, then came set 3 with the Grand Gallop Vairina, then came set 4 with the Great 4 Vairina, and this card has been completely overshadowed, completely, in terms of hype and popularity, but there is still a charm to Valiante. So let's talk about him. Vairina Valiante, he can be overdressed on top of a grade 3 or lower overdressed unit. So you can actually place him on top of your Vairina, on top of anything. So in this deck, we obviously are still playing arcs, right? So you can ideally play arcs into Valiante, you can play a Vairina into Valiante, you can play a Valiante into a Valiante, although I'm not sure why. You can also play other stuff like Expecta into Valiante. Yeah, it's possible, but frankly, we are not actually playing Expecta in this deck because Expecta is a bad card, so it is not going to see an inclusion in this deck. We're also not playing Elga. We are not playing Elga because Elga kind of builds around, having the Nirvana name, but it has its own grade 2 beat down core, which takes away from the identity of this deck experiment, which is to play with specifically Vairina Valiante. So that's why we're not playing Elga, just so we are all very clear. I'm covering it here. So what does Valiante do besides the overdress? What else does it do besides that? It's very simple. It gains 5,000 power for each of its original dress. Original dress basically is whatever is underneath it. So if it has, say, a Vairina, then it gains 5. It has multiple units, it gains multiples of 5. So it's pretty good. And then of course the second skill is that if this unit in overdress state attack hits, you can count +1, discard 1, stand this unit. So you go -1, but you get additional attack. It's a lot like Draconic Overlord, where you either, guard the first attack or take both. This is basically what Valiante is. Valiante is a large beating unit. It can gain 23k, basically, if you go into, say, an Arcs or something. If you top it off with a Nirvana, it's a 23. Plus, if you go in a Persona ride, you can go 33, 43. So the numbers in this deck is nothing to scoff at, which is how the Nirvana deck was born. So that's what we're still trying to rely on, because numbers don't lie. As much as this format has been power crept to hell, this is still a 5k shield format. There is still going to be some value in having high numbers slapping the face. Moving on to our grade 2s. Our grade 2s, we play 4 copies of base Vairina. We play 4 copies of Vairina Arcs, normally. And then we play 4 copies of this order, which I will cover. And then, of course, 1 copy of Ryu. So let's actually break it down real quick. What do all of these do? Vairina is basically the Vairina that we covered from the right deck. For search, when this unit can only be overdressed on top of Vairina, on top of Trickstar, sorry. So basically it just goes like that. That's the only option you get. And when it attacks against 10,000 power, you can then Soul Blast 2 to retire one of your opponent's rear guards. For a card that came out going to be 3 years ago, this is still pretty good. A 20k beater on turn 2 is good no matter how you want to shake it. And that's why in a lot of overdress lists for the entire year of 2022 specifically, you notice that Vairina Japanese players, the ones that still play overdress, they play a widening pool of grade 2 overdress units. Even when they had Maha in their deck, even when they had Esmeralda in their decks. And this is a testament to the design and power that they actually built into the mechanic to make sure it's not completely irrelevant. It also is showing that at the end of 2022, there was a Japanese tournament topper with an Elga-based list, and it had 12 plus grade 2s. That's already a very strong indication that in the height of the Abyssal meta, that grade 2 gaming is still very important, which Vairina actually can. A lot of people remember the grade 2s and 3s that the grade 3s and 4s that Vairina has, but never the grade 2s, which are actually really good in what they do. And speaking of more grade 2s that are good in what they do, Vairina Arcs is still a 4-card mainstay in the deck. When it can be overdressed on top of a Trickstar, and when overdressed to count +1, you draw 2 cards and it gains 5,000 power. It's a 15k attacker, a draw 2. It's a fast reload considering that you minus every time you overdress, but it's fine. It's still a wonderful card to play. People considered playing this in XOD in 2022. Frankly, I'm not sure. I still think it's a wonderful staple though, and an expensive one too. So if you have your copies of Vairina Arcs, keep it, because it will spike in price, or if the reprint set is coming, if there is one, please reprint this guy. This is of course from the right deck, so I won't really cover much. And then of course we have this order. I chose to play this order over Elgar because it's very simple. It simply costs 1 Soul Blast to play instead of Elgar, who takes 2. And Elgar does not force you into an awkward attack pattern with a grade 0 Trickstar. You don't need to do that. You can actually play it normally and just use this even though it looks like a -1. Here's the catch though. When you play this order, you can basically choose one of your overdress state units, and it gets when it attacks, you counter charge 1. It costs 1 Soul Blast to play, right? And you tag it onto a Vairina. So you can either choose your grade 2 Vairina, your Vairina Arcs, on this deck Valiante. You tag one of them, and when they attack, you counter charge 1. Now this interaction sounds really okay. It's just a Soul Blast 1 and counter charge 1 and a -1. It's like a confirmed Gojo. But I mentioned this deck is built around Vairina Valiante. Vairina Valiante is a unit that can withstand when its attack hits. Therefore, by tagging Vairina Valiante, and if its attack hits, you refund its cost to counterblast because you countercharge, and that's insane. Even though you go -2 because you discard a card for Valiante, as well as you already playing this order, it prolongs your longevity as well as this beating down. And if you are attacking twice and you've been doing the correct thing with the number of grade 2s that we play in this deck, you should be able to push your opponent to a pretty high damage standpoint, which means you should be close to winning. So realistically, that's the theory behind it. Does it work? It has worked before, and it still works at a relatively fine level, because this is overdress. This still has numbers to it. Like I said, this is a deck experiment, so I am still trying out with it. It is just for funny laughs and gags, but let's actually see if you also enjoyed this deck experiment. Moving on to grade 1s, we play Reno in the right deck. We play 4 copies of Ximena and 4 of our PG. Our PG is pretty obvious. We need to stay alive. Our right deck option is also pretty obvious because we covered it just now. Ximena is from set 3. She was very expensive previously, but her price has dropped. And since overdress is very tight on space, she doesn't really need that much left. But she is a fantastic card to end this deck. When placed, you counterblast 1, you look at the top 7 cards of your deck, and an overdress card from your deck to the hand, and then after that, you just simply shuffle the deck. So you can search for your Vairina forms, all 12 of them that we are playing, which is a huge arsenal in case you forgot. So 12 out of a deck size of minimally 40, or even less from turn 3 onward, from turn 2 onwards, because it costs a counterblast, is pretty good. And she stays around the 8k body, so she can contribute to pushing your numbers behind your Vairina Arcs, your Valiantes. It's just great all around. There are a lot of other great grade 1 Nirvana supports. I said Nirvana supports. There's Lava Main, there's Retsuji, there's Amelia, there's so much. Some phenomenal support, but I just chose Ximena because of the fact that we want to play around the condition of this deck experiment, which is the Valiante beatdown. So if you still want to play Ximena, it's fine, but if you're interested in trying other grade 1 options for Nirvana, this is the part where I say please try whatever you are interested in. It may work. Last but not least, our grade 0s. Our grade 0s, we play 1 Trickstar on the right deck, then 3 more on the main deck. I mean, that was obvious. And then we play 8 crits, including the soul crit, because you need to go in the soul. We play normal heals, because normal heals have proven to be quite effective. Some draws, I can't afford effect draws. And then, of course, the Dragon Empire Overtrigger, which is still pretty good for this deck, no matter how you want to look at it. You really don't need Obaria. It's still optimal to play Drunk Veda, so please do. And yes, with that actually wraps up this deck experiment profile on Nirvana, and specifically for Vairina Valiante. I chose this deck because of the circumstances surrounding it. As I mentioned earlier, the reason why I chose it is because this deck is deemed as a very archaic and outdated core. It's not like Bruce, it's not like Leonard, it's not like a lot of other things where, playing it is still fine. You can still play a completely fine intact set 1 best in list and no one will bat an eye. But if you try something that has aged or has received contradictory or even overlapping or even straight up cancelling old support, then you get situations where you wonder, what exactly do you do with your older cards? I mean, people do own older cards, right? So that's why I really wanted to cover it in the year 2023, where so many things can happen in this format and we don't know what D is going to be going into. I thought it'd be great to start off the year with a retrospective in terms of how you can actually build moving forward with stuff that you've seen already. You notice the oldest card, the newest card in this set is actually from set 4, which is the Order. So other than that, it's been 2 years since this deck physically can and would be updated if you don't count Lava Main. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love to see your thoughts in terms of older decks, newer decks moving forward. We have a lot of things that we can discuss. Frankly, moving on to 2023, I'm not going to be as free to do as many videos as I have been doing for the last 2 years since VCall, but I do intend to still keep up deck discussions here and there as and when I'm free. So yes, please let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time, and Happy New Year.